Tonight, you're going to walk into a room with someone who looks completely fine. They won't be sweating. They won't be shaking. They might even be smiling. And then, 10 minutes later, your heart will be faster. Your thoughts will be louder. Your body will start preparing for danger. Not because anything happened to you, but because it happened to them. Most people think stress is private, like pain, like hunger, something sealed inside your skin. But that assumption is wrong. And once you see why, it changes how you understand workplaces, relationships, parenting, even scrolling your phone at night. Because stress isn't only something you feel, it's something you can catch. And the proof came from a lab experiment so clean, so controlled, that it made one idea impossible to ignore. Your nervous system listens to other people's fear the way your immune system listens to a virus. To understand it, you have to start with a question researchers weren't even trying to make poetic. When one person becomes stressed, does the stress stay inside them, or does it leak? For decades, scientists already knew that emotions spread socially: laughter, boredom, confidence. But stress is different because stress isn't just a mood. Stress is chemistry. It's hormones. It's a full-body emergency protocol. So if stress really spreads, you should be able to measure it. Not with a survey, not with a vibe, with biology. And that's where the experiment begins. In psychology, there's a famous procedure used to reliably trigger stress in humans. It sounds simple, almost silly, but it works so well, it became a standard. The Trier Social Stress Test, often shortened to TSST. Here's how it goes. You bring a volunteer into a room. You tell them they're going to do a job interview. Not casually, not hypothetically, for real. They have a few minutes to prepare a speech about why they're the perfect candidate. Then they walk into another room where a small panel is waiting. The panel doesn't smile. They don't reassure you. They don't nod politely like a normal person. They stare. They take notes. They act like judges. And then, right after the speech, the volunteer is told to do mental arithmetic out loud, fast, while being corrected every time they slip. This combination hits something ancient in the human brain: social evaluation, the fear of being watched and found, lacking. And for the body, being judged by the group doesn't feel like embarrassment. It feels like threat. Inside minutes, the stress system switches on. The hypothalamus signals the pituitary. The pituitary signals the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands release cortisol, one of the main hormones that helps mobilize energy for survival. Cortisol doesn't just make you feel stressed. It changes digestion. It changes immune function. It changes attention. It tells your body, something is happening. Get ready. So here's the key question. What happens if someone else simply watches this unfold? In a series of lab studies on stress contagion, researchers took two groups of people. Group 1, the targets. They would go through the Trier Social Stress Test, the speech, the judging, the arithmetic. Group 2, the observers. They wouldn't give a speech. They wouldn't do math. They weren't being evaluated. Nothing was happening to them. Their job was to watch. Sometimes they watched through a one-way mirror, sometimes on a live video feed. In some versions, the observer was a stranger. In others, it was a romantic partner or close friend. And then, the researchers did something that made this experiment impossible to hand-wave away. They took saliva samples, because saliva carries cortisol, and cortisol is hard to fake. If stress is truly contagious, the observers, who never stood in front of the judges, should still show a physiological stress response. They should show a cortisol rise from watching someone else be stressed. And that's exactly what happened. Not in everyone, but in a significant slice of people, cortisol rose anyway, quietly, invisibly, like the body had decided it was under threat too. And here's where it gets disturbing. The effect wasn't random. It followed a pattern. Observers who were more empathic, more emotionally attuned, were more likely to catch the stress response. Observers watching someone they cared about were more likely to catch it, and live observation tended to be stronger than a cold, detached description after the fact. In other words, the people best at feeling what others feel paid for that skill with their nervous system. They weren't imagining stress. Their bodies were producing it. This is the moment the modern idea of stress as a private experience breaks. Because the observers weren't stressed by the task. They were stressed by the person. At first, this sounds like a design flaw. Why would evolution build a system where your body panics because another person is panicking? But think about the world your nervous system was built for. For most of human history, danger didn't come with announcements. There were no push notifications that said, "Predator detected nearby." There were no spreadsheets warning your tribe. Resource scarcity incoming. There were only signals. A face that tightened. A voice that changed. A body that got quiet. Eyes that locked onto something you couldn't see yet. If the person next to you is suddenly afraid, and your body stays calm because technically nothing happened to you, that's how you die. So the brain evolved to treat other people's stress as information, not as gossip, as data. And it doesn't just read words, it reads micro-expressions, posture, timing, tone, breathing patterns, signals beneath language. Your conscious mind can say, "They're fine," but your nervous system might already be mobilizing, because it's always asking a question older than thought. If they think we're in danger, what do they see that I don't? Now take that ancient system and drop it into modern life. A workplace where tension spreads through a room before anyone speaks. A family where one person's anxiety sets the emotional weather for everyone else. A group chat where urgency multiplies with every notification. And then social media. Because for the first time in history, you can be exposed to hundreds of people's fear in a single hour while sitting alone in bed. Your body can't always tell the difference between a threat that is happening near you and a threat you're witnessing through a rectangle of glass. So, you absorb it. A headline, a video, a comment thread. Your shoulders rise, your jaw tightens, your breathing gets shallow, and you call it being informed. But your biology experiences it as surveillance of danger. That's the hidden cost of being connected to everyone. You're connected to their stress too. The most important part of these stress contagion experiments isn't that stress spreads, it's how it spreads. It doesn't require touch, it doesn't require words, it doesn't even require you to be the target. All it requires is perception. Your nervous system treats another person's stress like a signal of environmental danger, and it prepares you to survive the same threat. So if you've ever walked into a room and felt tension before you knew why, if you've ever gotten off a call and realized your heart was racing even though you barely spoke, if you've ever tried to calm someone down and somehow ended up activated yourself, that isn't weakness. That is a system working exactly as designed. But here's the part most people miss. If stress is contagious, then calm can be too. Because the same circuitry that mirrors fear can also mirror safety. Slower breathing, softer tone, a regulated presence. This is why a single grounded person can change the feel of an entire group, and why the opposite is also true. One chronically stressed person, especially someone with power, can make everyone else's body live in anticipation. So what do you do with this? You can't stop being human. You can't turn off empathy without losing something valuable. But you can build friction between someone else's stress and your body. 1. Name what's happening, even silently. My body is picking up threat signals. That doesn't mean I'm in danger. 2. Change the channel your nervous system listens to. Your brain mirrors breathing more than arguments. Slow your exhale down on purpose. Give your body a new signal. We're safe enough to breathe. 3. Choose your exposure, not forever, not dramatically. But if your stress system is being activated by 10 different people's emergencies every day, your biology will start treating life itself as an emergency. And over time, that doesn't just feel bad, it changes you. Remember the experiment. The observers did nothing, and their cortisol rose anyway. That means stress isn't only something you endure, it's something you broadcast through your tone, your pacing, the way you enter a room already braced for impact. Other people's nervous systems are reading you the way you read them and reacting before they understand why. So the next time you feel stress that doesn't seem to belong to you, consider a possibility that's both unsettling and oddly empowering. Maybe you didn't create it, maybe you caught it, and maybe, without meaning to, you've been passing it on. Because long before stress became a diagnosis, it was a signal, and your body still treats it that way. Not as a private feeling, but as a message moving through a group, like a virus.